And now to Eddie Aruza and a potentially hopeful sign in the local real estate market. Eddie.
Phil, the tough times in the housing industry are far from over, but at least one aspect of the Chicago real estate picture has improved slightly. Sales of existing homes throughout the area went up each of the past 3 months. But sales are still down considerably from the same period last year, and the news on foreclosures continues to worsen. A new report says a record 12% of U.S. homeowners are behind on their mortgage payments or already are in foreclosure. And the housing crisis, according to that report, has now spread to borrowers with good credit. So does this mean we have yet to hit rock bottom? Here tonight with perhaps some hard truths about the ongoing housing market crisis are Mary Umberger. She writes about housing and real estate for the Chicago Tribune. And David Hanna, the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors. Welcome to Chicago tonight. David Hanna, as a realtor, as part of the association, you're used to putting a good spin on all kinds of things. But how significant is this increase in existing home sales?
Well, I think the good news that we see in the existing home sale numbers starting to rise is that as we look at the numbers closely, we're seeing purchases of foreclosed properties and short sales, distressed property, become a significant part of the transactions. And that is something we've been saying all along needs to happen. We need to see that inventory absorbed so we can get the market stabilized.
But then these are bargain hunters going after these foreclosed properties at what we would consider a pretty good rate. Is that significant then? Is that a good sign in the housing market?
I think any time that you see investor activity return to the market, regardless of what area of the market it's in, it's a good sign for us because there was a period of time where we were seeing almost no investor activity.
Mary Umberger, do you agree with that the increase in at least foreclosed homes is a step in the right direction?
Well, clearly they have to get rid of the inventory. That's been the mantra for a couple of years now, and it's taken a long time to happen. Not to pour water on it, there are people who are concerned that there is yet another 2 levels of shadow inventory yet to happen. People who have waited to put their houses on the market because they're not sure what's going to happen, and B, the people who are just now in the next year maybe getting into trouble on their mortgages, and there should be another wave of those on a couple of levels.
Where does Illinois and also Chicago, the Chicago area, how do we stand in comparison to the rest of the nation on foreclosures?
The Mortgage Bankers Association put out numbers today that overall, there's a lot of ways you can slice it and dice it, but overall we're ranked at 17th place in foreclosures in the U.S., which I guess could be worse. California, Nevada, Florida, and Arizona are the big ones that are driving the foreclosure rate.
David Hanna, last year officials were calling for banks to help or to establish loan modification programs to help people that are running into tough times. Has that happened? Are you seeing that out there?
We're starting to see that activity actually get some traction. I think that the Obama housing modification program that went into place in early March is just now has been digested by the lending institutions. There were a number of questions they had about both the regulatory side of it, and a continual problem has been how much latitude are they really going to have when many of these loans are several servicers out from the originator. But the legislation that the administration's put into place is hopefully addressing that. The biggest problem has been that there just wasn't, the banks weren't geared to do this. It wasn't their mission over the last few years, so it's taken time to get staffing into place. You have to get people trained, and there's still a number of logistical issues around it. But we're starting to see and starting to hear about, I think, a more rational approach to the loan modification portion of the program.
And is anybody lending out there? Or what sort of credit do you need or credit rating do you need to get a loan in this market?
You need good credit. Unfortunately, about half of the population of the United States today currently won't qualify for a loan under most of the programs that are out there today. That still leaves the other half that do. The biggest challenge is still going to be not only the amount of money that you have to put down, but literally the labyrinth of the process that's in front of you. As this process has changed, as we've seen new guidelines come into place, it has become exceedingly difficult for even the most seasoned mortgage banker, lender, realtor to work their way through this process. There are some, I guess, procedural aspects of it that really is where we see in the process the biggest problem. Financing takes longer. The longer any transaction takes, the more opportunity there is for it to fall apart. What we refer to as our fall through rate on agreed upon contracts has doubled. And while some of those loans eventually do close, that's still gone from, it's roughly 1 out of 4 transactions right now.
Is this what is meant by this report, that it's now extending to borrowers with good credit?
Well, the next wave is presumed to come in what are called Alt-A loans. There are famous subprime loans. Everybody's heard of those now. And then there's prime loans for the people with the best credit. And then there are assorted kinds of loans in the middle that were very popular a few years ago, that interest-only loans, option arm loans, and various other kind of hybrid specialty loans that now people are starting to worry about, who watch this stuff very closely, as well as in the prime category, and it's because of jobs. People are unemployed, and they're just not making.
And is that the key factor in the housing crisis?
To me, it is. I mean, I think you can have all the modification programs in the country if you want, but until somebody is sure that they have a job and they're going to keep a job, they're not going to go out and buy a house.
So if you don't have an income, no matter how much your
People
mortgage
worried.
is modified.
Even the ones that's what's keeping them on the fence. They go looking for houses and they say, I'm a little worried. We better wait.